Hello, everybody. We are going to be talking about today, over here at Spirit Things and Stuff, about the full moon that's coming up April 1st in Libra at 21 degrees, which is considered in the decans a critical decan mark. All that really means is that we're moving from, it's a lesson, and it's the actual transition space of moving from one portion of the lesson to the completion of the lesson. So you want to think back to the fall of 2025, and you want to look at the relationships that you had going on at that point and the lessons that were coming out, or the events that were happening. Were you meeting new people? Were you starting new partnerships? Were you starting to reevaluate the relationships and the partnerships that you're in? So the new moon was all about kind of bringing something new while looking at where you needed to, because Venus was involved in that one, looking for equity in your relationships, looking for reciprocity in your relationships, looking at the boundaries and the foundations within your relationships, and whether those were actually serving that relationship between the two of you, or whomever that was, the entity that you were involved with in that, whether that was serving both of you. But at that point, because it was in the early decans, it was mostly about us. It was about our internal needs and whether they were being met within our relationships. Now that we're coming into the 21 degree critical mark, it is now about the accountability of whether we're showing up in the same way that we wanted others to show up. So is it really just about me, or is it now about we? And really, this full moon is really about the me versus we. It's about taking who we are into a greater understanding of how we fit into our community. So it's, who am I in relationship to the people and the structures around me? It's dealing with a lot of subconscious things coming forward, and either having dreams fulfilled or shattered. And I know that shattered is kind of a big word, but it really is. There's this really quick dissolution and sort of crumbling that's happening. So for Libra, when we talk about this sign, it's legality stuff is tied up with this. So you might see a lot of, public things happening from a legal space. We do see that Supreme Courts tend to start to spark up. Political scandals start to spark up. It happens. But in our own world, what it does is it forces us to look in the mirror and hold ourselves accountable. There is a need with this full moon to highlight a balance between opposing forces, and to figure out how we can all sort of function in a way that's supportive of each other without compromising the needs that each side has, even though each side's needs are pretty different. So it's really a lot of air, which is your Libra energy, versus fire, which is your Aries energy. And we just came into that yesterday with the equinox. We are really firing the Aries energy into this new moon. There's also a T-square that happens in this one. So a lot of exaggerated emotion regarding those relationships and its circumstances, but there's actionable accountability. So it can't just be that somebody held you accountable and you went, oops, sorry. It has to be, I see what I did, and I see where I can make those changes, and I am right now, in this moment, not waiting, going to make those changes. It's actionable accountability. Where can we do better for our community around us? Where can we get out there and not quite be so selfish in nature, but start to become more communal in our relationships? 21 degrees being that critical mark, it's about inspiration, it's about mental energy, it's about forward-looking, goal-based type relationship dynamics. But again, the foundations need to be looked at, and there is going to be some shattering and crumbling of that. And that does mean that certain dreams and relationships and dreams regarding relationships might not look the same, or even be there on the back end of all of this. All right, so the other thing that's happening is, because we have Sun in Aries, again, it's that reality check within our relationships, and that looking in the mirror and saying, are we ready? Okay, so this new moon, full moon is pretty intense. So let's pull some cards and ask Spirit for some guidance regarding Actually, I'm going to start first with tarot. Let's pull 3 cards and some guidance regarding collectively, generically, what can we be looking at within our community spaces, or should be looking at within our community spaces regarding relationships and how we are showing up. It's not just about our own needs anymore. This new moon is really pushing us to consider all that is around us and whether or not what we think is right for us is actually right for everybody else, and where we can actually make some compromises without compromising our morals and our value and our integrity. Libra is a very fair sign when it's functioning in a healthy space. It's a really corrupt sign when it's not. So what are the things that we could be looking at? Regarding me versus we. What would Spirit 3 cards like us to focus on? Me versus we. What is the thing here that we have to hold ourselves accountable to? Where's the actions? I love it. All right, so what have you... Wow, I'm a little shaky today. Here, 2 hands. Squeeze hard. Okay, 9 of Swords. Sorry, in reverse. I am just, I don't know. Maybe it's just this side of me. That happens. I'm in a flare, so. The last solar eclipse, really, I'm still feeling that energy. And part of the reason that we're feeling that, just quick side quest here before I tell you about these cards. Part of the reason we're still feeling that is because Pisces is sitting at 12 degrees in the midst of all of this full moon energy. And when we talk about the 12-degree decan mark, it's a lot about karmic relationships. And because it's Pisces, it's unearthing, it's pulling stuff out from the depths. Pisces is like the Mariana's Trench of both intuition and emotionality. It can get really deep and really disordered, but it can also be heavily, heavily intuitive. So what this is it's taking all that deep disordered stuff, it's shielding it with prefrontal cortex accountability. Okay, so that's your Libra, is saying, hey, we're gonna encase you in the accountability of my energy while we unearth all of this stuff that's a little on, not a little, but on the very disordered side. And for some of us, it might not feel big, but it'll definitely feel disordered. I'm gonna bring this up and we're gonna address it. And that is why a lot of us are still, especially those of us that have heavy Pisces placements, we're still feeling that solar eclipse energy. That decan is still just pushing at us. It's still wanting us to really be honest about some of the icky shadow stuff. Okay, so 9 of Swords in reverse is about the releasing of anxiety. It's about finding a way through and looking at what belief systems we have had and the words that we've been telling ourselves and the hills that we've been dying on, where we need to stop. And it gives us that reprieve. It gives us that chance to just rest. So there's a real big call here to look at what you've been fighting and to ask if that's actually where you need to be. Okay, I have to cover this up because of PG-13 purposes. We've been fighting each other and going around in circles for so long in our relationships. It's about looking at the maladaptiveness of these spaces and going, where has this not been serving me, and what cycles and patterns am I repeating? Again, look back at 2025, the fall of 2025. Go back, and I believe it was October. I think that's when that one was. What relationship was highlighted at that point? And has it actually served you? Has it actually given you what you need? And have you given it, right? It's not just about me at this point anymore, right? We can't just always be looking at ourselves. We have to go from the me to the we. If we can look at where the disorder and the imbalances happen to be, if we can look at the things that we've been telling ourselves that have been causing stress, and we can address and look at the areas where we've been toxic, our communities will benefit. Kind of figured it was going to be about internal. Yeah, look at that. The Empress is feeding it. There is a desire for, that's very Libran, actually. And Venusian, like she loves, her and Venus are just, I love the Empress. She's so great. But that's the energy. Abundance, fertility, if you're trying to have babies, or even just fertility and anything else you're trying to seed, right? What are we seeding right now? We're in a seeding period. So we want to be really careful about that completion cycle. What are we completing, and what should we not be bringing forward with us? What do we need to let go of? All right. Okay, we're going to go over into our double message cards now. How cute is Mr. Gimli? Hi, handsome man. This is the first time he hasn't been psychotic when I've been reading. He's interested in them. Oh, that was too many. All right, Spirit. What's our dual message? What's our dual message? I love this deck. I forget what it's called. I love this. Let the timeless be in charge of time. Take some of that pressure off yourself. Recognize that, yeah, life is short, but we still have a lot of opportunity within it to create the things that we need to create. So there's the first. Sorry, I'm shaky. Okay, on the other side of this, how do we do that? We have to embrace every day as a new world to be explored. Isn't that just so in keeping with Libra? Okay. There you go. Amazing. I love that. Okay, last cards. This is the Lightworkers Tarot, or Lightworkers Oracle. Sorry, it's not tarot. We're seeding things. What sort of things should we be seeding right now? Where should we be focusing that seeding energy as we move into, after we've come out of the new moon, we've put this out here. Part of seeding is weeding, right? You got to get into your garden, you got to pull the weeds. The full moon is pretty much, if you're a gardener, you could view it in that way. That is like one of the perspectives that you could use for that. So where do we need to be mindful and put good boundaries and keep our gardens clean? How do we support the seeding that we just created as we move into this full moon? How do we support the seeding that just happened as we move through this full moon? Because it's going to need some releasing, some weeding. So I love this. Okay, one of the things that I want to talk really quick before I show you this card is about that 12-degree mark in Pisces. And then we have a T-square that's happening that I had mentioned. Man, you guys, say what you mean what you say. It's really important because your words are going to be a huge part of this. But because of that 12 degrees of Pisces and the fact that we just came through the eclipse with Pisces, and we're coming out of the new moon, and we're coming into this full one, okay? And Pisces has been a huge part of this. It means that we need to push into our intuition. Libra is a very intuitive sign when it's in a very orderly place. There you go. Your guidance is divinely guided. Akasha. So for those of you that don't know, I'm also an Akashic Records reader. So I find that funny that that came up. And I've been in there quite a bit lately. I've had some time to settle in and let my guide, who is, well, I won't get into that, but the guide that I have for the Akashic Records, when I go in, he sits with me and we peruse through things. He lets me know what I'm allowed to look at and what I'm not allowed to. I can't know everything all at once. There's a lot in there. But we have to accept the fact that we're not only just divinely guided, but the Akashic records hold every opportunity for direction. It gives you every choice. It shows you every possible pathway that you can take. And when we lean into the divine guidance that we have through spirit, often we're able to, I can't hold it with my left hand. Sorry, guys. Too shaky. It guides us down the path that's the closest to our purpose, or is our purpose. And we are seeing a huge movement collectively of people starting to question their purpose. Why am I here? How could I be more helpful? We are definitely going from the me to we. And it'll be okay. You're protected and you're guided. And if you end up going into a pathway that doesn't serve your best purpose, we do have a lot of spiritual guidance through the next few years to help us get back to where we're called to be, where we feel fulfilled. So don't chase fulfillment, create it through knowing who you are and being honest about how you're showing up, not just for yourself, but for your community, because a lot of our purpose can be found through servitude of others. All right. Love y'all.